a combination, and that's Rome Odunze. Make sure y'all check him out tonight because he won't disappoint. Trust me. Christine, back to you.
Way to come out that tunnel is going to hit different.
What are you bringing to this team tonight?
This is something that you always dreamed of.
This is the situations that you dream of when you're a kid in the backyard.
It's going to be jitters. We're going to be hair standing up like nothing else.
This is it. We're here.
Y'all gonna get all of me, man. Come on, y'all, all right?
You hear the crowd, the fans going crazy.
Sometimes I hear my dad's voice.
For a moment there, it's kind of like you don't hear anything.
Anything that I was thinking about before goes away.
I really feel nothing in a whole nother world.
Take that last deep breath and then boom, there it is.
Just getting ready for war.
It's go time.
Yep.
AT&T 5G counting us down to kickoff, giving us a look. Who's that? Jim Harbaugh making his way onto the bus as the Michigan Wolverines hoping to win a title here tonight over Washington. J.J. McCarthy is going to play a huge role tonight, Matty.
Yeah, that's right. Up the field, really excited for him and this opportunity that he has here tonight.
All right, so the fans got the big hats. The Block M, of course. And we also have some big hats up here.
Big hats here.
In the 700 level. Maddie's going to throw it on here. Let's throw it on. Why not? And we have these big hats because we are going to play a game. By the way, you guys crushed the game out in Pasadena last night.
Can't take you seriously right now with this.
That's right. We're all counting on you, so don't mess up this game.
Right.
We're going to call it Who Has the Edge. I got a couple of scenarios for you guys. Head-to-head matchups in this game, and you are going to put this one forward if you are going to go with the Block M, going with Michigan, and then you can switch it around and go with the Block W if you're going to go with Washington.
Okay.
It doesn't fit.
You know
My
what I'm
head's
going to
too
do,
big.
Matt? Sam, I'm going to go ahead and throw on this do-rag real quick and get on my do-rag activity.
Please.
Like Michael Penix, you feel me?
We don't want to mess
do
up.
your thing, brother.
We don't want to mess up the hair. All right, let's start with special teams too here, guys, because both these teams had their fair share of struggles in the special teams game in their semifinal games. Scooby's laughing at my hat because it's so big. But I mean, remember, Michigan had a missed field goal, right? The botched punt. Jerry Bernard also struggled in the game as well for Washington. So who do you give the edge to in this championship game when it comes to special teams, Matt?
This is a difficult one because both teams really did show some flaws in their semifinal football game with the muff punt. So I am actually going to lean towards Washington in this one. And Gross, the former walk-on, now gets his scholarship after kicking the game winner. We saw that earlier tonight. Really think that he will be a big difference for this Washington team, staying on schedule and keeping them in the football game with his ability to kick long field goals.
You going Block W or Block M, Scoot?
I'm going Block W, my boy. You know, when you look back to that game against Alabama, you see it right here, y'all. A muff punt, you can't have that in big games. It led to 11 points for Alabama. Yeah. So in this game, when I look at the special teams, I got to give it over to Washington.
I mean, how often do games like these come down to special teams? I mean, it's something that we don't talk about a lot, but it always comes up big in a game like this, and it's a memory that you don't forget. I mean, if you're the one making that mistake.
And listen, if Michigan would have lost that game, that young man would have had to move out of the state. So,
right.
You know, in this situation, my high school coach used to always say, hey, special teams will get you killed, okay? So you got to execute in special teams, all right? So shout out to Coach Stoll and instilling that into me to this day that you got to be great on special teams.
All right, this is probably the matchup of the night, and that would be Rome Odunze and Will Johnson.
Yes.
I mean, these two going head-to-head.
Right.
You're looking at a couple of first-round picks, more likely than not. Will
Someone's getting paid today, I know that.
Yeah, I mean, right? So who do you give the edge to in that matchup?
Wow, so I have been a huge Rome Odunze fan. You have heard me all year on our digital show how much I love that young man, right, and how good he is. But I am going to go with Will Johnson.
Come on, man.
Right? Why? Because of the rest of the dogs on the defense with him. They're not dogs, they're Wolverines. You ever seen a Wolverine on Nat Geo? Those things are crazy, man. All right, so I'm just telling you, with the help of his teammates, with Jesse Minter calling and confusing Michael Penix, pressuring the quarterback, I feel like Will Johnson will have a better advantage than most other defensive backs that he's seen this year.
Now, the reason why I put on the do-rag at the beginning of this segment is because I want to be picking a lot of Washington when it comes down to this segment. Now, Matt, you have said that the Biletnikoff winner should have been Rome Odunze, and I do say that he is a problem. Now, let's look at a couple of things. A fun nugget that I have for everybody watching the show, when Washington's win probability dipped below 50% this season, Michael Penix Jr. has targeted Rome Odunze 21 times. He has completed 19 of those passes for over 333 yards. So when I look at clutch situations and when I know those two dudes are in the huddle and they're down, Odunze is saying, throw me the ball. And Michael Penix looking at him like, I got you. So when I got to pick between these two dudes, we're going with Odunze.
I think at this point in the year, they're not even saying that. They're just like looking at each other like, all right, yeah.
We don't talk about special teams a lot. We also don't like to talk about officials a lot, but I feel like the officiating crew could play a big part now. I think you touched on it earlier in the show. You got to imagine that Will Johnson's going to try and get physical with Odunze. How crucial is that matchup going to be in terms of how the officiating plays a role into this game? Because it could be a big factor.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the defensive coordinator for Michigan, if I'm Jesse Minter, I'm saying, hey, we are going to try to be overly aggressive until they say not to, right? So we are going to make sure that we get hands-on, contest catches as much as possible. We're going to push the limits, too, on just getting hits on Michael Penix as well in the pocket.
And you know what's so great about this matchup? Michigan has only been called for pass interference calls twice this year. That is second in the country. However, Washington has drawn the most pass interference calls in the country.
Right.
So it's going to be real interesting. What are the refs going to do? Are you going to call it or are you going to hold that flag? Because we know against Alabama, those refs kept that flag holstered.
We talked about the NFL-style defense that Michigan has put together over the last couple of years. Jesse Minter, just the second guy to come in. You know, McDonald came in before him and kind of changed and really built up this defense. Ryan Grubb has put together a ridiculous offense for this Washington team, too. And in many respects, it's like an NFL-style offense. Who do you give the edge to in that matchup? Jesse Minter, Ryan Grubb.
I'm going to go with Jesse Minter, and you're right. We can't forget about the fact that in 21, they brought in Mike McDonald and what he did. And you know what I see out here when we watched the game last week, what I see here tonight? I see the Baltimore Ravens. I see a professional defense out there. I see a defense that doesn't maybe have a lot of superstars, but they have a lot of great football players that play great for each other. And that's where I feel like Michigan has that advantage on that side of the football of being able to corral Penix and Odunze more so than any other team has this year.
Yeah, I would like to agree with you, Matt, but I already told you I'm going to be picking the dub for most of this segment. So I'm going with Grubb in this matchup.
Yeah.
They got a high-flying offense, and the reason why I think this team was able to win the Joe Moore Award, which is for the best offensive line in the country, Ryan Grubb is a guy who has an offensive line coaching background. He used to be an offensive line coach. So when you look at this matchup in terms of KYP, know your personnel.
That's right.
Ryan Grubb knows his personnel really well. And quite frankly, if I'm Washington, if you win the toss, I want the ball first. I want to go down the field, and I want to put the pressure on Michigan. Because when it comes down to matchups, and I said it earlier, they can run a lot of max protection stuff because of the skill sets they have at the wide receiver position.
Right.
And it's going to be so fun to watch.
I'll tell you what's fun to watch is watching this Michigan marching band out on the field.
Looks like you got the same hat on.
That's right, we do, yeah. No, this is a very organized chaos, as they would say at NRG Stadium here before we get ready for kickoff of the national championship game. We're counting you down, 11 minutes to go. We got another matchup here. I want to see who has the edge on the offensive side for Michigan. You got Sharon Moore, who, guys, had to fill in as a head coach for much of this season for Michigan. And Washington's got not one, but two defensive coordinators. So who do you give the edge to on that side?
Yeah, this is a great one as well. I am going to lean towards Sharon Moore. I think that what he did last week against Alabama, the shifts, the motions, confusing Alabama, not allowing them to play fast, really did a great job of getting people wide open. We spoke earlier on how they missed multiple opportunities to take advantage of those big plays. I don't think that happens here again. I think they will be able to run the football consistently with Blake Corum. I would not be shocked if Blake Corum breaks 150 yards tonight. I really would.
What about what Washington did to Bo Nix? Not once, but twice this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty
Bo Nix didn't have Blake Corum in this offensive line.
Fair,
and that's what I'll say in that regard. Now Sharon Moore, what he's been through with this team, it's just unbelievable, the adversity they've battled through. They really have a great identity and a plan, especially these last 2 weeks of the season.
All right, y'all, I have switched the hat. I'm going with Michigan. I'm going with Sharon Moore. And it is so true what you said, Matt. The ability to be able to create those matchups based on your opponent. Now, Michigan is a team that runs 12 personnel about 50% of the time. When they went against Alabama last week, they cut that down in half. About 22% of the time, they ran the 12 personnel. The reason behind that, they felt as though if they had Alabama in the nickel defense, they would be able to move the ball easier because Alabama's got some dudes on that line, right? So Sharon Moore, I got to give him the edge because the fact that he's able to see those things and adjust on the fly is so impressive. We said it earlier in the show, being able to put Blake Corum in space. And think about this, y'all. Washington is 105th in the country in tackling. They are one of the worst tackling teams in the country, and you're going against Blake Corum, a guy who breaks tackles on tackles on tackles. And then when it comes down to first down, you're going to be able to stop Michigan. Yeah. Washington is one of the worst teams on first down, averaging 6 yards per play given up on first down. You do not want Michigan to stay ahead of the chain.
All right, last one. Who has the edge here? Because we were out in Pasadena last week, and it was essentially a home game for Michigan. Who do you think has the edge as far as fans here, guys? I'm seeing a lot of maize and blue again.
Man, it's all Michigan.
It seems like
it's all Michigan. I don't know what they were talking about in the other set before about it split down the middle. I don't see that at all, but maybe I'm colorblind and that's why I don't play anymore.
And we get a feel of it. The cool thing about getting here days beforehand, you see the fans in the hotel, the mall, the restaurants, and I've
I'm working on this case about missing scientists. I've seen that before. This place, it takes us one by one.
This is what my first car looked like when I got it, and this is how I gave it a vibe shift with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit. For a lower ride height, I got a set of coilovers. Extra stopping power called for an upgraded brake kit. To shift your gears more conveniently, I installed paddle shifters. Guaranteed Fit for any vibe shift with parts from eBay Motors.
Washington, if they want to get the ball back in time. McNamara slides down. James Franklin. Morris throws short, incomplete. Being up plays of 40 or more. This is a big one. Hassan Haskins tackled in Washington territory at the 45-yard line. 20 yards on the run for the senior from St. Louis. Jeremiah 2 and 4. Here's Corum. Corum down the sideline. Almost took it to the house again. Got tripped up at the 7 into the pistol. It's Corum running left. Great work by that offensive line. And a Michigan touchdown. Second of the night. Both scored by Blake Corum. This one from 7 yards out.
Proud defense. Get it into the end zone.
Next full by Giles Jackson. And he third down and 3. Gets it through to Cade Otton. Looked like he had the first down before he got knocked back, and they'll give him the forward progress.
But did you see the pursuit numbers?
I mentioned earlier, late hit. Ross came on a blitz. Morris ran into some folks as he threw it. And it's incomplete. Diving attempt made by Taj Davis, and it was Aiden Hutchinson who ran in. COVID patients. Here's a catch and a breaking free from the tackle by Taj Davis. And Washington out to its own 48.
Quite a few other plates on the table. For us, than to bring taste to the town.
Dylan Morris hits a slant out to Giles Jackson, the former Wolverine. And he was looking in the direction of Otton. And now he's looking at the turf. In the arms of Aiden Hutchinson again. Just inside the left hash mark, and it's good. And right back to the ground they go with Hassan Haskins. Third down and 6. Finally a pass from McNamara. Catch by Corum. Both Corum. Whoa, trouble on the exchange, and McNamara gets on it after one fake. He tried to give it to Corum. Snap. Takes the check down to Corum. Tried to go up and over, and he paid the price. And Dominic Hampton better be careful. Here comes the flag. Oh, a terrible penalty by him. Blitz off the corner. McNamara ran right by where the blitzer.
I just think he's having the time of his life right now with these guys.
Play to my team tonight. Taunting. Here's Haskins in the end zone for a Michigan touchdown. There's nobody whose opinion he trusts more than yours.
Block at the point of attack.
They really made that
on the bye. On the bye. All the way.
Thrown by Dylan Morris to Giles